demand for transportation changes over time, the bus routes can change. None of those things are true with streetcars or with light rail.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Now the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. A report from Gallup recently ranked the happiest countries on earth. Predictably, the list highlights the socialist nations of Scandinavia, with the USA lagging way behind. But the rankings are not what they seem to be. First, the list. According to Gallup, the 10 happiest places are Mexico, Luxembourg, Israel, Norway, Costa Rica, the Netherlands, Sweden, Iceland, Denmark, and the happiest country, Finland. The USA takes 24th place in between Belize and Great Britain. However, the methodology behind the survey has big flaws. The list is compiled from just a single question given to a small sample of people. Here it is. Imagine a ladder with steps numbered 0 at the bottom, 10 at the top. If 0 represents your worst possible life and 10 your best, which step of the ladder do you feel you are standing on at the present time? That's it. Are the folks in Mexico really very happy? The country is extremely violent, run by the drug cartels. Are you kidding me? I don't think I'd be very joyous about that. Finland and Sweden have the worst suicide rates in the European Union. Denmark ranks near the bottom of the list for mental illness. As a percentage of the population, the Netherlands has more drug users than anywhere else in the world. They are escaping something in Holland. And here's something else you might not know. According to actual data, the happiest place is really Australia. The country occupies an entire continent, no neighbors, strict immigration system, few natural disasters, universal health care, as well as private insurance for those who want it. The downside, you have to say the word mate at least 20 times a day. Oz ranks number 1 in access to nature, adventure, financial mobility, pleasant weather. Unlike Finland, Australia does not experience 2 months of total darkness. And it's not nearly as chilly. Back after this. You wouldn't wait for your car to break down to get an oil change, right? Your health should be no different. Don't wait until you get sick to get medications you might need. All Family Pharmacy makes healthcare simple, the way it should be. Whether you need ivermectin, antibiotics, maintenance meds, or other essential prescriptions, they've got you covered. Just order online and they will work with doctors who handle the prescriptions for you. They even ship your medication straight to your door. No waiting rooms, no hassle. Be ready before you need it. Stock up now. Take control of your health. Because when it comes to protecting your family, preparation is everything. Please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/bill. Use code BILL10 for 10% off your order. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/bill, code BILL10. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always
St. Louis's place to talk.
Freedom of speech is one of the anchors of our society.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
From townhall.com, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Russia and Ukraine have agreed to expand their partial ceasefire to include the Black Sea. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The United States announced the agreement as it wrapped up 3 days of talks with Ukrainian and Russian delegations in Saudi Arabia. The White House said the two sides have agreed to ensure safe navigation and eliminate the use of force in the Black Sea. Ukrainian President Zelensky praised the talks as the early right steps toward a peaceful settlement of the 3-year-old war. Greg Clugston Washington.
President Trump is downplaying the texting of attack plans to a group chat that included a journalist as the only glitch in 2 months of his administration. Trump told NBC News on Tuesday it turned out not to be a serious one. Testifying before the Senate Intelligence Committee, CIA Director John Ratcliffe tells ranking member Mark Warner that the CIA has protocols governing the use of the Signal platform for communication.
It is permissible to use to communicate and coordinate for work purposes, provided, Senator, that any decisions that are made are also recorded through formal channels.
Top national security officials, including Trump's defense secretary, texted plans for upcoming military strikes in Yemen to a group chat and a secure messaging app that included the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. An appeals court has allowed the Trump administration to stop approving new refugees for entry into the U.S. as a lawsuit plays out over the president's executive order halting the nation's refugee admissions system. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 4 points. The Nasdaq rose 83. The S&P advanced 9. Oil up 6 cents to $69.60 a barrel. More at townhall.com.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten.
Without Trinity support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
Robo-taxi service.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A couple of quiet and pleasant days on the way here. Mostly sunny this afternoon, a high of 65. A light wind this morning turns out of the northwest at 8 to 13 miles per hour this afternoon. Just a few clouds tonight. We drop down to about 42 early Wednesday. A gold star day tomorrow. Sunny with a high of 66. Now, if you're heading downtown for the Cardinals opening day Thursday, let's be prepared for the possibility of rain. About a 40% chance of showers and storms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore to tell you about Michaels Flooring. Michaels is known for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. Installing new flooring should be exciting, not a hassle you dread. Michaels has solved that, and their long list of happy repeat customers is proof. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, ceramic tile, it doesn't matter. Michaels Flooring, with 3 locations, St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Live and local.
Welcome home. And whoosh, sitting in traffic, stuck in a jam, and being entertained by Vic and Thunderstealing Ken.
This is News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but Now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
So if this information is classified, what are you going to do?
Senator, 2 points here. First of all, there's a difference between inadvertent release versus
careless and sloppy,
malicious leaks of classified information. The second point is there was no classified information that was on
the information.
Signal
This committee
group
should
chat.
get that information. Director
And the
Patel,
National Security
Director
Council
Patel,
was
my time's
reviewing
about out,
how
and I'm
this
going to
occurred.
use my 12 seconds that the chairman came. Director Patel, has the FBI launched any investigation of this?
Senator, I was just briefed about it late last night, this morning. I don't have an update.
I would like to get an answer by the end of the day.
4:06, and welcome into the Tuesday edition, March 25th edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. That is DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard before a Senate committee. She was not called up to the Hill to speak on this matter. She was already scheduled to testify, so it became very convenient for the Democrats to try to make political hay. We'll talk about this. This is the big story today. My partner, Tim Jones, of course, is in Shore. What are we calling it? The
Studio
Shore in Jefferson City. Mr. Speaker, Tim Jones, looking good there on the camera. Nice tie. I like that.
Thank you. I just got out of a meeting in the what the senators refer to as it sounds very mysterious. The cone of silence in the back of the Senate chamber. Yeah, we had some discussions at Chris about the pro-life effort to repeal and replace Amendment 3 and which version of which tax cut bill. There's a ton of tax cut bills moving through the system, but as we all know, the Senate becomes a huge pinch point. So you kind of got to choose one with 7.5 weeks left in session.
You know, when you said cone of silence, I just had this visualization of some dog that come back from the vet and had the cone of shame on his head because he had some type of surgery and didn't want him licking himself. We'll talk about that because, as you said, Tim, we are in the second day of the session since they've been back. The clip we came in with was, of course, Tulsi Gabbard before a Senate committee. We're learning a little more about this incident. It was Michael Waltz, the National Security Advisor. He is the one that invited the Atlantic reporter onto this conversation. We're also learning that Signal cannot be used on federal phones. So these may have been using their own personal phones for this. You know, I tell you, Tim, this is bad. And no one should say that it's not bad. This is a breach. This is a new administration, a lot of new people in it. But I got to tell you personally, and I don't want to diminish the seriousness of this at all, but to me, this is not the equivalent of leaking the plans to D-Day back during World War II or the plans for the invasion of Iraq during the first Gulf War or anything that significant where even American lives could have been in jeopardy firsthand. You know, if they're bombing and everything, of course, there could be shot down. Who knows? But I think the Democrats are making hay out of this more than anything because of the terrible politics they're facing right now. They have very low poll numbers. And I think they see this more as a opportunity to score points against a administration that is making a lot of progress and try to rally the base behind them and find some type of political footing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Have you noticed, Chris, how there's been very little talk about the substance of what has allegedly leaked? You know why? Because the substance of what is allegedly leaked, to your point, is, I'm sorry, not that big of a deal. Not to minimize it, because the leak itself is a problem, but that's really all they're focusing on. I'm old enough to remember that back in the ancient days of yore of October 2024, you can do a 5-second Google search and find this, and you can find a bunch of other stories. Joe Biden's White House was, quote, deeply concerned about the leaking of sensitive Pentagon documents. Remember when that happened? We reported on that for about 3 or 4 days. Some important Pentagon documents leaked out about the about the international matters going on in Israel. Again, war plans in Israel. Every administration has these leaks. What the problem is this happened very early in the Trump administration. You're right. The Democrats are trying to find something to talk about that is not just their own failure and dysfunction as a party. So they're seizing on the fact that there was a leak, and that's what they're focused on. They're not talking much about what was in the substance of the conversations, which honestly, if you read the text, not much was said about the actual events.
And reports were buzzing in Washington yesterday evening that National Security Advisor Michael Waltz would offer his resignation to the president or be fired. Period of time happened last night, overnight. The president didn't make any statement regarding Michael Waltz. Earlier this afternoon, he said that he had confidence in Michael Waltz and he would be staying with the administration. So I think Michael Waltz and others will be much, much careful in the future. They will not be using this Signal Act. And as I said earlier, and as you said too, that this is a administration that's in its early infancy. Mistakes are going to be made. This is a huge mistake. No one should say less, but as I said, it doesn't rank up with leaking out war plans that could have got Americans killed or hurt in the air or on the ground.
Yeah, substance-wise, that is exactly correct. Now, look, I actually use Signal. Signal is an encrypted app in and of itself. You can actually set the settings so the messages disappear in 3 seconds. It's kind of like a Mission Impossible kind of thing. Like
this Confide at
one
time I had a Confide app that I don't use anymore, but that was the first app with that.
Yep, there's GroupMe, there's Signal. I am not aware of what the rules are around the usage of apps for communication. I'm sure there are communication devices that we're not aware of that people are supposed to be using on government issued, hopefully encrypted, protected phones. Every administration has leaks. The Donald Trump administration has learned a lesson early on. Hopefully they will take this early lesson, apply it across the board to all agencies and all bureaus, and remind people that discussions about classified or potentially classified material should not be done in any kind of careless manner. And for God's sakes, you shouldn't be accidentally adding reporters to your conversations, to say the least.
And, to follow up more with that, it was very interesting to me that this reporter was added onto this to Signal. And Tim, you have the app. I don't. So in order for this reporter to have been added to this group chat, would he have had to have been connected to these folks already on there? Or is it just this broad, somehow if you put in a name, it will search for a bunch of people and will find one and boom? I mean, how does it work?
The latter. So Chris, if anybody is already on Signal, whether they're on your channel or not, if someone has downloaded the Signal app onto their phone and is using it, I can go into my Signal app. I could search for Christopher Arps right now, and I could see whether or not you're on Signal. And you don't have Signal, so you wouldn't show up. If you did have Signal, I'd say, oh, Chris is on Signal. I could create, but then Chris, you have to actually, I don't understand how they accidentally did this.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah. Chris, I would have to someone would have to physically search for you, add you to them, and then, or let's say I'm already in a group. So I have, I'll go to one of my chats right now, 2025 Senate Freedom Caucus. Okay. If I click on that, there are 5 members of that group, the 4 Senate Freedom Caucus members and me. If I'm going to add somebody, let's say I want to add an ally for a brief discussion. Chris, I have to click multiple times. I have to click on the title. I'm doing it right now. I have to click on the title of the channel. Then I have to scroll down to where it says add members. Chris, I have to click on add members. I then have to search for the person I want to add. I have to find that person, and then I have to add them into the channel. It's a lot. I don't understand how you accidentally add someone. I'm very confused about that.
I think what this is, Tim, is I think that this reporter was a part of this person's group of friends. And I think when he was Signal chatting with these other people, because he was already connected with him, a friend or however they call it, he accidentally added him on, which, look, Administrations all the time, Democrat and Republican, back channel to media outlets and give them stories off background, and they try to generate some type of trust between each other. And maybe that's what Waltz was doing. Maybe he thought he could trust Goldberg. Maybe he fed him some information here, and he has reported on it favorably. So he trusted him. That's why he was in his contact list, maybe. But I think we've learned that Waltz, you can't trust this reporter because he reported the story. And think about it, Tim, back in the 50s and 40s and all of that, if something like this happened and a reporter somehow was given war plans like this, do you think the reporter would have actually reported this, or would have said, hey, you know, I love my country for the good of my country. I know I'm a journalist and this is a huge scoop, but my country's national security is more important to me, and I'm not going to report on this story? Or am I just being naive?
Well, no, The Atlantic is a left-wing liberal progressive publication that likely hates the Trump administration and everybody in it. So, Chris, I also think before we cast too many stones or blame on this, look, somebody made a mistake. However, knowing the political philosophy and the editorial bias of The Atlantic, I also think we need to find out how this reporter got added and why he didn't do anything when he did get added. Like, right? He could have removed himself. You can remove yourself. If you're added to a signal channel, you can remove yourself.
And he
from
has
that
said
signal
he has
channel.
done that, but I don't know when. Maybe it was after the fact, but he has.
Oh, let me just watch this for a couple hours, right?
Yeah. The reporter
This is
has.
cool.
The reporter did say that he eventually removed himself from the conversation.
So, Chris, it all depends on how it's set up. I think there's a way. So, for instance, if you're creating a signal, channel, and so someone is the administrator, I think you can do the settings in some situations where only the administrator can add people. However, that's not a general. That's a general rule, but there's exceptions. You can also have signal channels where anybody who's participating in the signal channel can also add people. So we can't just presume that whoever created the channel is the person responsible for adding the reporter. It could have been anybody. Like you said, it could have been an accident. They could have been blowing through their contacts, right?
Mhm.
And maybe this guy, I don't know what this guy, I don't remember what this guy's name is. His name could have been right above or below somebody else's name, Chris. They could have accidentally clicked too many. Maybe they were scrolling down and going, okay, I'm going to add this person, and they accidentally clicked on him.
Mhm.
We don't yet know, and we don't yet know what actions the reporter took to, not call attention to this or remove him.
Well, here's what the report. I've read a little bit of the reporter's story. What
did he say?
What he has said is he kind of jokingly, I knew about this attack on the Houthis hours before. How did I know this? Because the administration sent me the plans. And he said for national security reasons, he did not report on it until after the military action took place.
Okay.
And he said also that when he did report the military action, he tried to make sure that he didn't give away any tactics or sources that helped with the military operation. That's what he has said.
Now, the fact that the upper echelons of our government, that the agencies are interconnected and communicating with each other, I like that. I like that fact.
Yeah.
Now, should they be doing it on this application versus another application versus this phone versus that phone? That's a whole different discussion for the national security experts. But the very fact that they're communicating, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah.
You don't just want a bunch of yes men and right. You don't just want a bunch of yes men and yes women sitting around going, yeah, whatever you say, Mr. President. We want people to challenge each other. We want people to challenge. We want the FBI, the CIA, the DNI. We want them all to have their own opinions, hash it out, have a good, vibrant discussion, come to a conclusion, and then have a united front to the public and to the world writ large. They obviously made some mistakes here. They made it early in administration. I agree with what you said earlier. I don't think anything I don't think there was any major substantive damage. Lesson learned. Let's make sure it never happens again.
And I don't have a problem with as I said, with the administration back channeling with reporters that I think they can trust, feeding them information, and they want to be reported on favorably. I'm sure, Tim, when you were Speaker of the House, you had specific reporters that you trusted and were fair-minded, and you gave them information, and you knew that they were going to report on it in the way that you wanted it to be reported, and in return, you may have giving them scoops on something. It's how it works. It should be not a complete trust, but it should be a working relationship between the media and government officials.
Yeah, could not agree more. Absolutely. There are certain stories that the government wants and should get out to the public. There's certain stories that need to be told, and there's certain reporters, no matter where they are in the political spectrum, as long as they're somewhere around the center right, center left, or they share your philosophy, that you want to be able to trust to give exclusive to. And yes, we did do that. I continue to do that now, Chris, in my role with the Freedom Caucus and with some of the other groups I represent. If I want a story or a certain position to get out on a certain public policy position or a major piece of legislation, there are definitely folks that I will go to first, and I'll say, hey, I've got an exclusive for you on the upcoming tax cut proposal that's going to advance in the Senate. And that's who, and they'll be like, oh, great, tell me the details. And that way, the story that I and or the proponents of the bill want to get out, that's the story that gets told first, and hopefully correctly.
And a little inside, when you are talking to a reporter as any type of reporter, you can speak to them. You can say this is on the record or this is on background, and if you say background, they'll take what you say and will and put it into their story, but they won't say that it contributed to you. And you have to, that's one thing you have to make sure you establish that with them. This is on background. All right.
That is a key point you just made. Everyone, if anyone in our audience has to speak to media at any point, you have to presume, as Chris just pointed out, everything is on the record. That's the general rule. Everything is on the record unless you specifically say, and the reporter nods their head or gives you a verbal yes back, this is either background where they won't quote you directly, or this is off the record. That's what you have to specifically say.
And an ethical journalist will follow that, because I think that's part of their ethics code. All right, we have David Stokes coming up. We're going to talk about the April 8th election. One of them is Prop B in St. Louis County. We'll also talk about the Green Line with the Metro link there. Also, at 4:45, we'll talk about the big peace deal that Trump has negotiated between Ukraine and Russia. That'll be Chris's Corner, 4:45. 5:07, Speaker Stump Speech.
Oh my goodness. I've been running around like crazy today. How about I tell you the subject in the next segment before we wrap things up with David Stokes?
Oh, that's an extra good tease. And at 5:24, we'll talk with Dr. Randy Tobler, host of the Randy Tobler Show, about measles being confirmed in D.C. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
I know many people in Washington, D.C. that would unplug your life support to charge their cell phone.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Got a great day on tap for Wednesday. Low 42, cool in the morning, but near normal. But an afternoon high of 66, above the normal high of 61, and mostly sunny without too much wind. Northwest winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Now, Thursday for the Cards opener, there's a 40% chance for showers, few thunderstorms. They're going to be scattered in nature. I don't see this as a washout type rain, but just a heads up if we go into the game or celebrations and festivities before and after the game, there is a chance to get a little bit wet. It is warmer, though, a high of 71 for Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Let the American people see what's going on here.
News Talk STL. Pay close attention.
St. Louis is number one.
Bottom line is this. St. Louis is number one.
For conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
I just don't endorse anyone. As I've said, most of the advertisers here on the station, my wife and I, we have patronized. And one that we had to use earlier in the year was Elite Comfort Experts. We had our hot water went out in the house. And so we gave them a call. They came over and they gave us honest pricing and an expert installation. They were in and out before you know it. You know, Elite Comfort Experts, what you see is what you get. No fake discounts, no tricks, just guarantees you can count on. And right now, they're teaming up with Amana Heating and Air Conditioning for an incredible offer. A 99-year compressor and heat exchanger warranty, plus a 10-year parts and labor warranty on a new high-efficiency HVAC system. And they're covering the extended warranty out of their own profits. But this deal won't last forever. Systems must be installed before April 15, 2025. It is March 25th now, so get on that. Don't settle for gimmicks. Choose integrity, choose quality, choose Elite Comfort Experts. Call them today at 636-887-0971 or visit elitecomfortexperts.com. And don't forget to mention promo code NewsTalkSTL.
Have you been injured in an accident? You need a personal injury law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, we've been fighting and winning for St. Louis. $5 billion in negotiated settlements? We've got it. $300 million in verdicts? Done. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row. Onder wins all the time. Car accident, trucking accident, workplace injury. No matter the case, let Onder win for you. When the stakes are high, we're a team you can trust. Wondering what your case is worth? Call now for a free consultation. And remember, we don't get paid unless you win. Dial 314 or 618-9-million. That's 9 then all zeros. Or visit onderwins.com today. Onder Law. Winning is what we do.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer.
Those words from the president introduced a young man who's been through more than most. DJ Daniel once had just 5 months to live after a brain cancer diagnosis, but 6 years later, after beating cancer once, it's back. His dreams now on the fast track. Aside from the Secret Service, he's been sworn in as an honorary officer by more than 900 agencies. Now, a St. Louis County Police Department is working to push DJ over 1,000 agencies.
429 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And, you know, St. Louis gets a lot of black eyes, a lot of bad coverage, but that is one thing there, Tim, that is shines a good light on St. Louis.
Absolutely, indeed. And, you know, again, shame on everyone, mainly the Democrats, who did not stand for that young man. Used to be a time, Chris, right, when Americans applauded great American things and put politics aside when those things were pointed out to them. I'm so glad Donald Trump honored this young man. And he's been continued to receive a lot of famous accolades since that night as well.
Speaking of a great American, let's get to our next guest.
David Stokes over at the Show Me Institute. In high school, you talk about spike. I had a very short spike. It was
I knew there's some spike somewhere in there.
It wasn't very punky. It was more Leave It to Beaver-ish, maybe.
David, welcome back to the show. Before we get started, my friend, I want to wish you and Jennifer a happy belated anniversary.
Thank you very much. Very, very kind of you, Chris. I missed the show last week. We were out on spring break with the kids and celebrated our anniversary in Colorado. It was a lovely week.
If you really missed this, David, you could have said, hey, wife, kids, I need about 15 minutes. I got to go call the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. I can't miss my weekly hit. Did that ever cross your mind?
It's hard to get phone reception on the slopes of Colorado mountains. They're not known for great reception, 9,000 feet up.
Yeah, I got you. Those hotel rooms, man. One day they'll get in the 21st century. All right, David. We've got an election coming up here in St. Louis. We had Councilman Archer on a couple of weeks ago discussing Prop B. We've talked with you about it many times. Give us the skinny on it.
Well, I don't love it, but it does seem to be the reality of the situation is it seems to be, the best I can say is an unfortunate necessity. The breakdown between the county executive's office and the county council is such that, it's the council is having trouble. These are independently elected officials, and they're having trouble getting information from county government. And, they're not just pulling this out of nowhere. There's been, subpoenaed or public information emails shown of county department heads just saying they're going to refuse to answer the county council's questions. Those have been shared online widely, so not breaking any news there. So it just does seem to be a very unfortunate necessity here to sort of give the county council greater authority over the departments. And I wish it wasn't this way. It's just I'm not putting blame on either side per se, but the breakdown in the relationship between the ninth floor and the first floor in county government, and that's the council on the first floor and the county executive on the ninth floor, is such that this is just one more change to the county charter to empower the county council. And I've been a big supporter of all of the previous ones as really good changes to give the county council staff more resources, more authority. Those have all been good. I still support this one, but I'd say it's again, more than anything, it's an unfortunate necessity. When I worked at the county, even though the county council at the time of the county executive's office may not have had a great relationship, certainly department heads would come and answer the council's questions when requested. But now it's just gotten to a further point, and that's disappointing.
David, Proposition B is going to be on the ballot of every voter in the county of St. Louis. And I believe that's 2 weeks from today? I think that's correct. The April election will be, 2 weeks from today, Tuesday, April the 8th. David, we talked about this a while ago. Would you once again explain to our voters what Proposition B is? And basically, I know you don't give political advice, but how about the public policy behind either side?
Well, it really is the main thing on the ballot in much of St. Louis County. Sure, there's some school district things and the like, but unlike prior years where last year there was a ton of marijuana taxes on lots of cities. 2 years ago, there were a ton of use taxes. Outside of the St. Louis City election, this Proposition B is really the main thing that the voters throughout St. Louis County. It's a countywide charter change, so all 1 million people in St. Louis County are voting on it. And as we just discussed, it's the change to give the county council more authority to replace department heads under the county charter, like who's the head of Department of Planning, the Department of Highways and Public Works, the Department of Health, all these various departments that are created and managed by the county charter. And this would give the county council authority, I believe with a supermajority of voters, a 5 out of 7, I believe, to remove those department heads if necessary, if they refuse to answer council questions, if there's other problems. We don't want a situation, and this is why I think this is an unfortunate necessity. We don't want a situation where department heads are constantly looking over their shoulder and saying we now have 8 bosses instead of 1. But if you've gotten to the point where they're just not answering questions to other elected officials who are trying to be a check on the county executive's office, then you have to empower the county council more. And that's why they're doing this. And that's why I think it's a good idea, even though I think, again, it's unfortunate that this is necessary at this point.
Speaking with David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. David, Maryland Heights is doing quite well, it seems. They've had 2 TV stations move out here. News Talk STL moved out here last year. You see a lot of cranes, a lot of building out here. It's really kind of the crown jewel of St. Louis County. But a Post-Dispatch story says that the Centene Ice Center is a financial strain on Maryland Heights. Please explain more.
Well, it has been for years. It's a perfect example of why cities should not get into the operation of businesses. And this is, remember, the Centene Ice Center is not just a little ice rink for the citizens of Maryland Heights. It's a major ice complex for teams and leagues and the Blues. You know, it should have been entirely privately done. The idea that Maryland Heights played such a major involvement in it, and it does have private partners to it, I get. But the fact that Maryland Heights was so heavily involved, it should have never gone down that way. It should have been entirely private. And, you know, they put the bonds out for it. They started building. Then COVID hit. So that dramatically decreased the ice usage for a few years. Maryland Heights made its own absurd mistakes, such as forgetting to impose the sales tax at the ice center that it had passed to collect money to pay off the bonds that they did not impose on their own facility for years. I mean, it was crazy. They finally started doing that a year or so ago. So the good news, if you say it's good, is that they're finally collecting enough money from the ice center to pay off the bonds without the city of Maryland Heights itself having to use general revenues to do that, which is where they've been doing so for years now, just taking general tax revenue to pay for the bonds for this ice center. It's a perfect example. They should have never gotten into this situation in the first place and put their own taxpayers on the hook for this ice center. It should have been a private facility entirely. Now, for most cities, this would have been a financial disaster. For Maryland Heights, which is of course swimming in casino money, they had the money to make these payments without a major financial problems. That's just again because the casino's there, and certainly not a guide at all for how other municipalities around the state should operate local finances.
Tim?
He's got a little glitch going on with the internet at the
I thought
Capitol.
it was me there for a second there. David, another question I want to ask you is about the Opera Theater of St. Louis intending to buy part of the Clayton headquarters footwear Caleres. Give us more information on that, please.
Well, it's big news that broke the other day. It's related to a story from about a year ago where this is the old brown shoe now called Caleres.
Mm-hmm.
On the west end of downtown Clayton, of the big, beautiful office building near the Clayton Recreation Center and near Clayton High School there. Very valuable piece of property on the west end of downtown Clayton. And this Clayton School District was going to buy it. And a lot of people objected to that, properly so, because, all that land is going to now was going to become off the tax rolls. So because that's a public body, it responded to public pressure and decided not to move forward. So it was just announced the other day that Opera Theater St. Louis, and this will probably shock you, Chris, I have been to Opera Theater in the past. So I enjoy Opera Theater. For years, it's been out at Webster University in partnership with Webster U, and it's worked great because it operated out of an already nonprofit facility. So now it's going to buy this land in Clayton, and it's going to take all this land off of the tax rolls. And that's not the direction we should be moving in. We should be wanting to expand our tax base, particularly in our most valuable parts of the region. And downtown Clayton is probably our most valuable part of the region, all things considered, at least financially. And I don't think it's a good direction to be going in that this nonprofit will buy this property, and it will almost inevitably, hasn't been done yet, but once it's purchased, it will seek tax exemption. It will likely get it. And then you'll have higher property taxes on the rest of the people of Clayton and the rest of the people of Clayton School District, as St. Louis County and Clayton and others have to make up that loss. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm not calling in any way that for somebody to try to block this sale. This is a private transaction between two parties, Caleres and Opera Theater of St. Louis, not suggesting at all that anybody should try to prevent it from happening or the city of Clayton should try to prevent it. But it's not good for the region. And if it becomes a pattern of more land and more property in our business centers, our commercial districts becoming nonprofit, that's going to be a real problem, and it's going to lead to higher taxes, higher property taxes on everybody else in St. Louis County.
David, sorry about that. I was asking you a brilliant question and my feed went out for some reason. I want to go back to, and I guess this is kind of related to this discussion you were having with Chris, but I want to go back to the ice rink, the ice rink issue in Maryland Heights. We often hear about public-private partnerships. Is there a situation where if a municipality, a county, a region, a governmental agency wants to build something and expand something like an ice rink or some kind of other venue, can it work through a public-private partnership? Or are you saying that, no, these things should just be always entirely private? Like, what are we talking about with public-private partnerships? I think sometimes I and others get confused about that.
I absolutely think public-private partnerships can work. And we've talked at Show Me Institute. We've written on showmeinstitute.org papers about various types of them, privatization, outsourcing, and also for cities and counties. So public-private partnerships or PPPs can absolutely work. The thing that I think they work best at is when they take something that is indeed public, when something that the city or the county is doing, and then they partner with the private sector to make that public purpose done more efficiently, more cost-effectively, more responsively. The problem is when you take things that the private sector should be doing, such as, again, this ice rink is not just a local ice rink for the people of Maryland Heights to skate on. It's a major commercial facility. When you move government into the private sector under the guise of partnering with the private sector to it, that's when you run into problems. So public-private partnerships will work well when there are public things, such as maybe a new toll road where everybody agrees we need a road. It is the responsibility of government in most cases to provide that transportation, and then you can partner with the private sector to bring that new toll road. We don't have that much in Missouri, but we do in other states. So that's a good example of how it can work. When you move the government into the private sector and then partner with it, that's often when they fail. And while the Maryland Heights ice rink hasn't completely failed at this point, it's been a drain on the people of Maryland Heights. And I think it's a good example where the municipal government went too far in the wrong direction.
Dave, we've got a couple of minutes left, and I want to ask you about outgoing St. Louis Mayor Tashara Jones naming a new interim personnel director under a, quote, emergency rule. David, what is the emergency?
Well, the emergency is that it's an important job in city government, and it is indeed a very important job, and that it's vacant right now. I guess that's the only emergency. Local governments pass laws all the time and claim an emergency, so they go into effect faster, even though there's no real emergency. So there's nothing unusual about this. And she does have. The election is in 2 weeks, but it's not like should she lose, she's out of office the next day. It takes several weeks for ballots to be counted and certified, and then the change made. So she may win, she may lose. Either way, she's going to be mayor for at least another month to month and a half, and she needs that personnel department filled. There are openings in the city that need to be filled. Lord, I think we all agree that there are openings in the police department, and if they have qualified people applying for that police academy, they need to get them in there and get them in that class. So I hope it's filled. And, if there's a new mayor in 2 weeks, elected in 2 weeks, and then installed shortly thereafter, and the results of the primary election a month ago certainly indicate that seems likely, then I hope that that new mayor gets to appoint their personnel administrator as well. I hope this isn't being abused to install somebody who would then be used to sort of impede the new mayor's, the potential new mayor's position. And that's been the problem with the Office of Personnel Director over city government in recent decades, is that it's so insulated from political pressure, which was originally the intention when it was instituted 90 years ago. But now it's just been used to sort of impede the electoral choices of the voters. And that's why I think it's gone too far. And I supported Mayor Jones's efforts to change the existing system.
And that is David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute, showmeinstitute.org, and on X, David C. Stokes. David, thank you so much. We'll speak with you next week.
Absolutely, gentlemen. Great talking to you again, and talk to you next week.
Thank you, sir. Coming
Thanks,
up
David.
on Chris's Corner, Trump news on Ukraine, and tariffs. Talk about that on Chris's Corner. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
I have been to opera theater in the past, so I enjoy opera theater.
Listen to me. I found perfect place. I saw it on the way over here today. It's perfect for you guys. You can go. It's very conservative, and you guys will love it. Don't worry. It's nice. Trust me.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Got a great day on tap for Wednesday. Low 42. Cool in the morning, but near normal. But an afternoon high of 66, above the normal high of 61, and mostly sunny without too much wind. Northwest winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Now, Thursday for the Cards opener, there's a 40% chance for showers, few thunderstorms. They're going to be scattered in nature. I don't see this as a washout type rain, but just a heads up if you're going to the game or celebrations and festivities before and after the game, there is a chance to get a little bit wet. It is warmer, though, a high of 71 for Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The tides are changing.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The Democratic Party doesn't stand with what I stand for.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this time of year, what are you doing? Well, you're getting things ready for spring, which has definitely sprung in our region. Man, today is like a quintessential Midwest, Missouri type of spring day. Definitely here in Jefferson City where I am. I know it's basically same weather back in St. Louis. Everyone's getting things ready. You're getting your sprinkler systems, your irrigation systems ready, right? Hey, I don't care who you've been using up to this point. I got the folks you should be using. You know why? Because they've been in business for over 52 years. They're celebrating their 52nd anniversary, and they're still going strong. Hydrodynamics Core. They were built and established in 1973, almost as old as Tim Jones here. The first, and I'm going to say the best, commercial and residential lawn irrigation company in St. Louis. This time of year, they are super busy, but are more than happy to be busier working on getting your system activated and performing your annual backflow testing. Look, folks, I know many of you, look, you're conservatives, you're entrepreneurs, you're independents. Look, unless you have experience in plumbing and irrigation systems, I'm going to suggest this is one of those things you don't DIY it, right? Bring in the experts like Hydrodynamics, build a relationship with them. Maybe you already use them. So don't forget to have them out to your house. Set that appointment because you're going to want to start turning on these irrigation systems now, whether you are a commercial or a residential customer. They work with both. They also have premium turf management programs. They also do outdoor lighting. They perform drainage solution work. Like if you have a problem in a yard or a hill or something where something's not draining the right way. And they do hardscaping. What the heck's hardscaping? That's making your outdoor spaces much more livable and fun. Retaining walls, patios, walkways, edging, outdoor fireplaces. They'll make your outdoor spaces places you want to spend time in throughout the summer. But it all starts with the building block of a beautiful lawn, an expertly installed and maintained irrigation system. And that's where Hydrodynamics Core comes in on everything I just mentioned and so much more. Where can you find them? Online. Everything there I mentioned is there. Hydrodynamicscore.com. Hydrodynamicscore.com. Get the experts out to do your system activation and your annual backflow testing. Test out your entire system. Make sure it's perfect for the warm summer months ahead. Hydrodynamicscore.com. hydrodynamicscore.com.
Hey, News Talk STL listeners, this is Levi, CEO of Reach Reproductive Health. There was a huge gap left when the biggest pregnancy center in St. Louis had to close their doors right after Amendment 3. But by God's grace and power, Reach has been able to step into that space. We have acquired Thrive centers and are continuing operations in greater St. Louis. I have a request for you. Would you pray and consider getting to know Reach more? We are here to see babies saved and families transformed by the power of Christ. Get to know us on our Reach community website, outreachforlife.org. That's outreachforlife.org.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
A controversial Republican state senator says she's not running for re-election in Missouri. Wednesday at 7:05. Find out why.
Morning starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Got out of town on a boat on the Southern Islands.
We in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes.
451 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Tim, let's set the scenario here.
Yes,
a
please.
Republican female congressperson ridiculing a disabled governor, a handicapped.
Yeah.
I know that's not the politically correct word now, but someone with a disability. Remember how they were up in arms when Trump supposedly made fun of that reporter during the 2016 campaign? But here you have Representative Jasmine Crockett calling Governor of Texas Hot Wheels because he is confined to a wheelchair.
Yeah, Chris, I can give you an exact analogy of that. There's a legend up here in Jefferson City, and I'm pretty sure this story actually happened. But many years ago, there was a Republican state rep who was challenging a Democratic state rep for not standing up on the House floor. That's because he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And it was very embarrassing, and she got properly chastised for it. Jasmine Crockett does it, Chris, and the media happily sings along. It's insane, the double standard.
I bet you Jimmy, I bet you Joey could find it during the break. Remember, it was Joe Biden telling Senator Chuck, what was his name, to stand up, but he was in a wheelchair. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
It was Biden.
Chuck Gross.
Yeah,
right?
Chuck Gross. I think his name. Yeah, but Chuck Biden told the guy, stand up, Chuck. There's, oh, God love you, you can. And it was just embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, Chris, when the Democrats do it, anybody on the left does it, the media glosses over it, thinks it's funny. It's not funny at all. And if a Republican or a conservative would do it, you get lambasted and are asked to resign.
Let me ask you this. Is Jasmine Crockett, is she officially a member of the squad, or is she angling to join and be a leader? What's her deal? Is she a member of the squad? I don't know.
I was gonna ask the same question. I don't know. Like they don't really refer to her as such, right? But what is the squad these days? They've kind of been semi-dismantled, and now AOC is out on a nationwide road trip with Bernie Sanders.
And Joey, let's do a little Chris's Corner.
Chris's Corner is brought to you by Elite Comfort Experts. Call 636-887-0971 or EliteComfortExperts.com.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
Another big news today is the peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. It has been expanded a bit. An agreement was signed today to ensure safe navigation, eliminate the use of force, and prevent the use of commercial vehicles for military purposes in the Black Sea, quote unquote. That was a statement from the White House. So it seems like the peace deal is on the way there. I think the Ukrainians have accepted the minerals deal. I think I heard that last week. So that's coming to fruition as well. Also, regarding the tariffs, the president, I think, has seen the stock market has gone up 600 points. Has been doing well when he has relaxed some of the tariffs or has given the impression of that. President Trump told reporters yesterday in the Oval Office that, quote, he may give a lot of countries breaks. I'm embarrassed to charge them what they've charged us. Trump had threatened 25% tariffs on countries that purchase oil and gas from Venezuela, and China is the largest recipient of crude exports from Venezuela. And we talk about Chuck Schumer. Chuck being thrown under the bus last week. A Democratic congressman said he resigned. Well, now Michigan State Senator Mallory McMorrow has thrown her weight behind calls for Senator Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to step aside. Well, you say she's a state senator. Who cares? But she is likely to launch a Senate run in April for that open Senate seat in Michigan. So I think she's trying to set herself apart there with the voters and say that she is not a fan of Chuck Schumer and throwing him under the bus and using him for campaign fodder, I guess. Pete Buttigieg was rumored he's going to run for president in 2028. That's what many people think. He has hired a agent, CAA and Brillstein Entertainment Partners. This is the same agency that represented him back in 2020 during his presidential run. During his 2028 presidential campaign, they're going to put him on all types of news. They're going to start him a podcast, and they're going to produce him a book. So it looks like Pete Buttigieg is not going to run for governor of, I forgot, it wasn't even Michigan where he's from. It might have been Michigan. Was it Michigan? Yeah. So he's decided not to run.
He's not from there. He's from Indiana.
No, he's not from. He bought a house, him and his husband, which still feels weird saying that. Bought a house there last year. So that started the speculation. And Nancy Pelosi, I guess she felt bad, Tim. She said yesterday that she is throwing her weight behind Schumer and said that she told reporters, of course, he should remain Senate leader. So Nancy all over the boat, stabbing people in the back, but smiling in front of the corners and in front of the cameras. And that is Chris's Corner, brought to you by EliteComfortExperts.com. And coming up, we're going to speak with Dr. Randy Tobler at 524 about this measles outbreak. And in 507, Speaker Stump Speech, Tim.
Chris, we've got not just a topic, but a very special person who's joined me in studio shore. Susan Klein, Executive Director, Missouri Life Right to Life, is here in the studio right now with me. We'll bring her in the next segment because tomorrow, Chris, is the annual Pro-Life Day at the Capitol, and this is a pivotal day indeed.
Fine. Let's do Tim Jones, Chris Arps Show, 1019-94.1 News Talk, STL.
It's almost time for baseball's return to St. Louis. Get ready to watch your Cardinals take the field at Busch Stadium. From home runs and fireworks to historic plays and rising stars, there's no better way to catch Cardinals baseball than with thousands of friends, old and new, in the sea of red. Grab your tickets now to join the fun in Cardinals Nation. Visit Cardinals.com for tickets and info. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
There is no better way to enjoy America's favorite pastime than cheering on the Cardinals with your family at Busch Stadium. From the thrill of watching the game to the kid-friendly activities, food, and fun, the ballpark has it all. Make magical memories as you cheer together for every home run, double play, and Cards win. Your family summer tradition starts here at Busch Stadium. Grab your tickets today at Cardinals.com. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Are you sitting on hidden treasure? Manchester Coin and Jewelry wants to turn your valuables into cash. We're Missouri's premier gold buyers and jewelry specialists. With years of expertise, we offer top dollar for your coins, antiques, precious metals, and collectibles. From gold and silver to clocks and jewelry, we buy it all. Don't let your treasures collect dust. Let Manchester Coin and Jewelry give you the best value. Visit online at buyingvaluables.net or come see him today at 141 in Manchester and tell him Newstalk STL sent you.
Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis style pizza anywhere. And we can't disagree. Dine in, pick up, or delivery at all 3 Steph's Pizza locations. In Lake St. Louis at 111 Potterford Trail, St. Peter's on Juggerman, and in St. Charles on Zumbel. Check us out at Steph'sPizza.com. Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
President Trump is downplaying the sharing of Yemen attack plans to a group chat that included a journalist. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Democrats and Republicans alike criticized the incident as a serious national security breach, but the president called it the only glitch in 2 months of his administration. He claimed on NBC News that it didn't turn out to be a serious matter, and he expressed confidence in his national security advisor. Earlier this month, the editor-in-chief for The Atlantic received details of a U.S. military attack in a secure messaging app 2 hours before the airstrikes began. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Wildfires continue to burn in the Carolinas.
Dry conditions, wind, and trees downed by Hurricane Helene fueled wildfires in North Carolina and South Carolina, where evacuation orders were in effect Tuesday. Bo Dossett with North Carolina Forest Service says more than 5,000 acres have burned in 3 wildfires in Polk and Henderson counties, and red flag warnings are in effect.
We are starting to see fire behavior on the Black Cove complex start to increase as these winds come up, as the humidity drops and the temperature rises.
In neighboring South Carolina, 2 fires are burning in a mountainous region in Table Rock State Park and nearby Persimmon Ridge. I'm Julie Walker.
U.S. consumer confidence continued its sharp 2025 decline as Americans' views about their financial futures fell to a 12-year low, driven by rising concerns over tariffs and inflation. The Conference Board reported Tuesday that its consumer confidence index fell 7.2 points in March. On Wall Street, the Dow by 4 points, the Nasdaq rose 83, the S&P advanced 9. More on these stories at townhall.com.
We're going to be talking about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
Healthcare is complicated. It doesn't have to be. If you don't love how your health insurance works, maybe it's time to leave traditional health insurance behind. Take charge of your healthcare with Christian Healthcare Ministries. CHM offers you flexibility. Enroll anytime, choose your own provider, and select the program that fits your needs and budget. CHM is the original faith-based way of taking care of your medical bill costs. Learn more at chministries.org/wellness.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Got a great day on tap for Wednesday. Low 42. Cool in the morning, but near normal. But an afternoon high of 66, above the normal high of 61, and mostly sunny without too much wind. Northwest winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Now, Thursday for the Cards opener, there's a 40% chance for showers, few thunderstorms. They're going to be scattered in nature. I don't see this as a washout type rain, but just a heads up if we go into the game or celebrations and festivities before and after the game, there is a chance to get a little bit wet. It is warmer, though, a high of 71 for Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Human trafficking is occurring right here in Missouri. You can help combat it by learning the signs of human trafficking and reporting suspicious activity to law enforcement. Victims may appear malnourished, show signs of mental or physical abuse, or avoid social interaction. If you're a victim or know someone who needs help, contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or text the word HELP to Be Free. Together, we can fight human trafficking in Missouri.
Brought to you by the Missouri Attorney General's Office.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually on the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The Alien and Sedition Act fully applies because we have also determined that this group is acting as a proxy of the Maduro regime. So
I'm sorry, just to clarify on that. This is supposed to apply if the U.S. is at war with a country. You are saying you have evidence that the government of Venezuela is directing these gangs?
We are saying that TDA is acting as a proxy of the Maduro regime. This is how the Alien and Sedition Act applies. And we cannot have district judges interfering with the commander-in-chief's actions to take care of, in the way he deems necessary, a terrorist organization.
So the U.S. is at war
and I
with
got to tell you,
Venezuela?
we can.
506 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. Margaret Brennan, CBS Face the Nation. She is loathsome. She is one of the worst of the Sunday hosts. As you know, we always talk about Tim, that she feels it's her duty to question the host, but also be the follow-up and judge and execution, and absolutely makes me sick. Welcome back to the show. Tim, you've got a special guest there in Studio Shore with you, she's been on the show before, but it's been quite a while.
Yes, I'll introduce her in just a second as part of the Speaker Stump Speech segment today, Chris, and I want you to interrogate her along with me about everything that she's up to this year, along with her organization. But Chris, I want to underscore a point regarding the clip we just played, and also a related matter, Chris. You know, we've been talking about these district court nationwide injunctions, right, for the last 2 weeks. Chris, I believe that U.S. Senator Josh Hawley listens to our show, because guess what he did this morning? He introduced legislation to restrain district court judges from being able to implement nationwide injunctions. So how about that?
Good for him. Yeah, he is following on the heels of Darrell Issa, who filed that legislation last week. So we have a House and a Senate bill, and something that definitely needs reform. This bill should pass because it's getting absolutely out of control, that district court judges can issue national injunctions and can thwart the will of the President of the United States.
Indeed, for sure. Well, Chris, as I just mentioned, for today's Speaker Stump Speech, we have a very special guest joining me in Studio Schroer. Tomorrow is the annual Pro-Life Day at the Capitol, and there is some key pro-life legislation and priorities moving through the General Assembly. So I'd like to have our audience, we'll entertain our audience with this conversation next as part of today's Speaker Stump Speech.
Oops. Is there?
Did I catch Joey by surprise?
Oh.
Is it time for the Speaker Stump Speech theme?
Is
that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I was getting that
That's
podcast
okay.
ready.
That's
I'm the
okay.
worst. Here we go.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Chris, as you can see, and as everybody who's watching us on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram can see, I have Susan Klein with us today. She's the executive director of Missouri Right to Life. We are at the Capitol today with Susan because she's getting ready for the annual Pro-Life Day tomorrow and to continue to advance some very important legislation. Susan, good afternoon. Great to see you again.
Hi,
Good
Susan.
afternoon, Tim, and good afternoon, Chris. I'm glad to be here with both of you.
So, Susan, for our listener, let's start high level here. Tomorrow is a day that is celebrated every year, the General Assembly. Doesn't matter what the issues are. The life agenda is always an important issue. There's always stuff to talk about relating to life. Before Dobbs, after Dobbs, before Roe, after Roe. What is in your mind the importance of having a pro-life day at the Capitol every year?
Well, I think it's important for people to be able to come and visit with their legislators. Obviously, Missouri Right to Life represents people, pro-life people from across the state of Missouri. And we're here every day lobbying in the Capitol and working on good pro-life legislation. And we've seen that over the years as, as we've been able through the legislative process with great legislators like you when you were the speaker.
Well, thank you.
To be able to pass good pro-life legislation that protects babies and women in the state of Missouri. However, with Amendment 3 passing last year, we have a crisis, and we need pro-life people to come to Jefferson City. It's going to be a beautiful day here to be at your state capitol. Not only a beautiful day with the sunshine, but also a beautiful day with pro-life people from across the state of Missouri that come and talk to their legislators about how precious these babies are and how important it is for us to pass good pro-life legislation. And we have challenges ahead of us this session. So I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yes, we'll definitely get into the details.
Okay.
Chris may ask you about that next.
Susan, one story that unfortunately we didn't talk a lot about last week, but it was the order released by Attorney General Andrew Bailey telling Planned Parenthood Great Rivers, quote, hereby ordered under penalty of law not to perform any chemical abortions in Missouri. Talk more about that. And, chemical abortions, they've said that the surgical abortions are down, but the chemical abortions now, because, you can get mifepristone and through a pharmacy, that has increased abortions. Talk about these two things, please.
Well, we do want to praise and thank Attorney General Bailey for putting out his cease and desist orders to these Planned Parenthoods that on chemical abortions. That law was passed back in 2017, and it deals specifically with just the chemical abortions. So it's a great law to protect women from these pregnancy resource centers who have had their health and safety regulations removed. So, we're glad that he has done that. We also know that surgical abortions will grow in Missouri if we don't also put a stop to that by removing Amendment 3 from our Constitution. So the cease and desist orders are great. Planned Parenthood is not doing abortions. They need to have complication reports with hospitals, and they need to file those with the Department of Health and Senior Services to make sure that women can get the care that they need. Abortion clinics in the state of Missouri have a history of, rusty equipment, expired drugs, personnel that, is not qualified. So I think it's imperative that we have some kind of oversight over these, abortion clinics that are going to, hurt women, and obviously they're killing babies. So we want to make sure that that we move forward with some legislation and get Amendment 3 out of the Constitution.
Yeah, Susan, let's talk about Amendment 3. I know that's what you at Missouri Right to Life, rightly so, are hyper-focused on this year. You've been working on this for months. Susan, back to Amendment 3. Due to our extremely broken and flawed initiative petition process, a story for another day, Amendment 3 passed. But I would argue, and I want to know if you agree with me or not, I do not believe voters completely understood what they were voting for. I think most voters, whether we agree with them or not, believe they were voting on a limited abortion provision that provided exceptions for rape, incest, and life and health of the mother. First of all, that's not what Amendment 3 does, right? It does so much more than that. And number two, you and Senator Adam Schnelting, Representative Melanie Stinnett, and a ton of other stakeholders and legislators have crafted a viable solution that you want to educate Missouri voters on, right?
Correct. We, back in July of 24, did a poll to see where we were with educating the public about Amendment 3. We were sitting at 38% that people were going to vote for Amendment 3. By the time we got to September, we had pulled it to 49%. So we were merging very close to letting people know that this was a really bad amendment that was going to enshrine abortion all 9 months of pregnancy in our Constitution. So we moved really close, but we were only 1.6% difference.
1.6% is what it passed.
That's exactly right. And if we'd have had a couple more weeks, I believe we would have have taken it across the board, and we would have defeated Amendment 3. Because as we were out talking to people in the public and working the polls and working the lines and knocking doors and phone banking, people, whenever they heard what Amendment 3 was all about, they changed their direction. Even I'm not just talking about pro-life people. I'm talking about moderate people who wanted a rape and incest exception, and they wanted to be assured that they could get care for miscarriage or ectopic pregnancies. So once we told them that they could already get that care, it was already in our law that they could get a life of the mother exception or medical emergencies. So once they knew that, they began to come our way. So we believe that people, that outside money came in from not only outside of Missouri, but also outside of the United States. And we believe that people were lied to, and we believe that the legislature really needs to turn this around and repeal Amendment 3 and replace it. And that's what Senator Schnelting's bill does. It's in good form right now. Senate Committee Sub for SJR 33 is what we're looking at as far as the language goes. It's language that Missouri Right to Life supports. The HJR 54 we're working on, but we need a committee sub that really matches the joint resolution of the Senate Committee Sub of 33. So, I believe that people in our polling, we show that we can win with the language of the Senate Committee Sub of SJR 33 because it does tell people that, yes, you're going to get care for ectopic pregnancy and miscarriage, even though they already had it. But we just want to reaffirm to people that you can get the care that you need in Missouri. So I think it's important that this bill pass this session. That people can see that our legislators are working. I mean, we saw that people come from outside of Missouri came in and deceived Missourians. I think Republicans need to stand up and address that issue. But also, we saw a woke judge that came in and removed the health and safety standards. Simple things, whether a doctor is going to perform an abortion or whether there's going to be safe equipment in the rooms. Those are all stripped away now. That's what ACLU and Planned Parenthood did the day after the election. So I think the Republicans have to respond to those two things. And pro-life people across the state are looking, for leadership on that. And Senator Schnelting is stepping up to the plate on that. And we want to move that bill forward.
Susan, I've seen Missouri Right to Life letterhead. It was letterhead that Missouri Right to Life had a previous name, but one of the directors on the letterhead was Reverend Emmanuel Cleaver, who, of course, is the congressman from the Kansas City area. You have Senator Warnock, who is an African-American pastor, calls himself a pro-choice pastor. Can you try to explain to me what is a pro-choice pastor and what do you think happened to Emmanuel Cleaver's change of position?
Well, I came into Missouri Right to Life in 1997, and one of the first things that I did was give Emmanuel Cleaver an award in Kansas City at one of the restaurants, and he and I had a long conversation about pro-life positions. And I think you see a different Democrat Party today than what I saw back in 97. When I came in, Democrats were in control of the House, the Senate, and the governor's mansion. And under the pro-life Democrats, along with the pro-life Republicans, we passed the ban on partial birth abortion. So I think Democrats today are not really allowed by their party to take pro-life positions as far as what we call pro-life, which is actually the protection of the baby and the protection of the mom. So I think we need to get back to people looking at that innocent baby and that mom, and just get back to being together and working to save lives. We're together on adoption bills. I worked on an adoption bill this morning that's moving through the House. We're kind of separated on. I know the House last night debated the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, and how could you not support a baby and protect that baby after that baby's alive? And laying on a table or being held by a nurse or a doctor. We saw this in Virginia and I believe it was New York, but we saw it on the East Coast, years ago. And it was, let's have a discussion on whether to protect this baby or not. And that's not the time to have the discussion. You protect the baby. The baby's alive. So, yeah, there's some good bills that are moving through the legislature this year. And I think, we all need to come together on that as a human race and just protect these babies and moms.
We're speaking with Susan Klein, Executive Director of Missouri Right to Life. Susan, let's talk about the younger generations. Chris and I talked about it yesterday. We saw some significant national polling that for the first time in decades, younger people are tending to favor the center-right side of the philosophical fence. I'm wondering, and we're all getting used to this new post-Roe Dobbs world that we're in. You deal with a lot of Missourians from east to west and north to south. Where are the young people? Where are the millennials and the Gen Zers on the issue of life and of faith in general?
Well, I am excited and encouraged by what we see across the state. I know that during the battle on Amendment 3, to defeat Amendment 3, there were so many young people that came together and were knocking doors, doing phone banking, asking to work with Missouri Right to Life. As a matter of fact, we have several interns right now, and we have a new young graphic designer. That these young people are really stepping to the plate. I think we are excited, and I know we are at Missouri Right to Life excited about what we see in the new generations. And reality is, if you think about it, people who are pro-abortion are killing their generations. People who are pro-life are having lots more babies. I think, as we look to the future, I'm encouraged by what we see in pro-lifers in Missouri. A lot of new people stepping forward. And some of them are, they're not as knowledgeable in the life issues, but they want to learn. But then some of them are so knowledgeable, even beyond their years, I think. But it's exciting to be a part of them. I know they brought new life to our office and across our state when we look at our other regions and chapters that we have. So
fantastic.
It's exciting.
Susan, if folks want to make the trip to Jefferson City tomorrow, give them more information about that and the website for the organization.
So our website, and I'm going to do it first because I always forget, MissouriLife.org. And then Lobby Day, people come from all over the states. I know we have several buses coming from around different areas, different church buses, different pastors, churches. But Lobby Day registration starts at 10 a.m. at the Missouri State Capitol on the first floor rotunda. You come in, you get your packets, you read through your information. We have bill cards that talk about all the different bills that we're supporting. And you read through those, you fill them out, and then you go visit your legislator. And then you come back to the first floor rotunda for the rally at noon. We have Dr. Bain, Susan Bain, is a pro-life OBGYN, and she's with APLOG, American Association of Pro-Life OBGYNs. And then Rebecca Weaver, that is the APLOG Action, and she is one of the people who basically try to put together organizations. So we have more pro-life OBGYNs in our state. A lot of OBGYNs can be a part of ACOG, but they support abortion. So as you look at, doctors getting together who are being told they can or can't do certain things in medical care, through APLOG, we get a group of doctors that can come to the Capitol whenever we need doctors to testify. So it's an exciting day. The rally, we have different pastors praying. We also have, we call it kind of a worship time. I think it's an encouragement for all pro-lifers that most of us come from faith-based background. But being pro-life is not about your faith. It's about a scientific fact that life begins at conception. And so though we uplift ourselves and try to uplift the legislators in their last weeks of session, 7 more weeks after this week, we also, want to come together and encourage our legislators, but also tell them we expect a good outcome from this session.
Susan, may God bless you, Missouri Right to Life, and your efforts tomorrow at the Capitol. It was great talking to you, and look forward to talking with you again.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks for being with us, Chris. Yeah, Chris, 3 big takeaways. MissouriLife.org is the website, MissouriLife.org. Tomorrow is the Lobby Day. We invite all our listeners to make the trip here. And finally, We are asking everyone to support the bill that all the stakeholders and all the legislators agree is the best vehicle to move forward on, and that's Senator Adam Schnelting's SJR 33, right, Susan?
Yeah, the Senate Committee sub.
There's substitute language for that, SJR 33, Adam Schnelting's bill. So thank you, Chris. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Coming up, Dr. Randy Tobler, host of the Randy Tobler Show. We'll talk to him about the measles outbreak in Washington, D.C. It's spreading. We'll get more information from him. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Ronald Reagan, the actor.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Got a great day on tap for Wednesday. Low 42. Cool in the morning, but near normal. But an afternoon high of 66, above the normal high of 61, and mostly sunny without too much wind. Northwest winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Now, Thursday for the Cards opener, there's a 40% chance for showers, few thunderstorms. They're going to be scattered in nature. I don't see this as a washout type rain, but just a heads up if we go into the game or celebrations and festivities before and after the game, there is a chance to get a little bit wet. It is warmer, though, a high of 71 for Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
I think you're a little confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
101.9 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. News Talk STL.
News Talk STL.
Tim Jones back with you to talk to you more about water. Yeah, we just talked about the importance of irrigation and water outside your home. How about your water and air inside your home, your business, or your commercial facility? Well, that would be a different awesome local family-owned company, Jones Air and Water. Yeah, Everett Jones, my brother from another mother. Jones Air and Water has been serviced.
Got tree troubles? Brock Tree Service has you covered. A Christian family-owned business with years of professional experience. From tree removal to stump grinding, emergency storm damage to snow plowing. We do it all. Residential, commercial, any job, any size. Free estimates, competitive pricing, and local experts you can trust. Call 314-267-2239 or visit brockstreeservice.stcharles.com.
Cardinal Nation, it's time to paint the town red.
Opening day of Cardinal baseball at Busch Stadium.
And there's nothing else like it.
It's a St. Louis tradition.
Two things define St. Louis: Cardinal baseball and News Talk STL. Play ball! Opening day of Cardinal baseball at Busch Stadium is March 27th. Backed by our hometown favorites, DiGregorio Food, Best Buy Flooring, Pie in the Sky, and Abduction Dispensary.
Cardinal baseball.
This is Larry Connors, and my favorite sandwich at Capriati's is a Philly cheesesteak with peppers. Sweet peppers, but sometimes hot peppers. I love Capriati's, and so will you.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Are you tired of taxes? Then prepare for a knockout evening. Americans for Prosperity and News Talk STL proudly present Torch the Tax, an evening with Mayor Glenn Kane Jacobs. The WWE superstar who became mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, is coming to the St. Charles Funny Bone Wednesday, April 16th. Don't miss this unique opportunity to hear from a champion who's now out of the ring and fighting for taxpayers. Get your free tickets now at afpmissouri.com. That's afpmissouri.com.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. We keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
All right. Technology is great when it works, right? I'm going to tell you once again about Jones Air and Water. I told you earlier about irrigation and the importance of water to the outside of your home. Air and water treatment products and services, extremely important for the inside of your home, business, or commercial facility as well. That's why you should turn to my brother from another mother, Everett Jones and Jones Air and Water. In business for nearly 30 years all over our region, they specialize in air and water treatment products and services to enhance easier and better living in your home, in your business, in your commercial facility, your industrial facility. It doesn't matter. No square footage, no interior square footage too big or too small for Everett Jones and his team to make better. What are we talking about? Well, when it comes to air, you want to have properly regulated, humidified air, right? You don't want it too wet. That's what it gets like in the summertime in the Midwest regions, especially in St. Louis. You don't want it too dry, which tends to happen in the winter. So you need a great combo system of a dehumidifier and a humidifier. We have those at our Jones home. They work really great in tandem with each other. Everett Jones can put those in your home or business today. Water, the building block of a great foundation for your health. How about the Topper drinking system? Unlimited supply. You just change the filters once a year. Everett will do that for you. An unlimited supply of awesome reverse osmosis, beautiful crystal clear water. Swimming pools. Yeah, we're all getting, especially today, we're thinking about swimming pools, aren't we? Echo Smart system provided by Jones Air and Water. That is a system for your pool that is salt-free, chlorine-free, and acid-free. This sounds good to be true, right? It's not. Radon, that is that colorless, odorless gas. It's very dangerous. Everett Jones can test your home or your business for that as well. Everything, and I mean everything, for air and water treatment products and services for your home. You know what? Be a filter. Your body takes all that gunk out of the air or water, or buy filters. I would encourage you to buy filtration systems from Jones Air and Water. JonesWater.com, 636-899-1040. JonesWater.com. That's JonesWater.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's Stifel.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Prince George's County Public Schools says it's working closely with the county's health department following a confirmed case of measles at John Hanson Montessori School in Oxon Hill. Fox 5 has learned the last known exposure on campus was last Wednesday, March 12th. Due to privacy laws, the school district says it cannot provide additional details about the individual who tested positive. Medical leaders say people who have received the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine have a low risk of contracting measles.
5:32 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. Tim, I remember when I was in second grade, we had a field trip planned to Grant's Farm. I had never been there, and we were all so excited to go. And a couple of days before the field trip, I came down with the German measles, or the 3-day measles, as they were called, and I did not go on the trip, and I was heartbroken. And I'm just now getting over that, to tell you the truth. All right,
Chris, what do the Germans do to measles?
I don't know, but it was called the German measles or the 3-day measles, which was weird, but I'll never forget that. All right, let's talk about the measles with our next guest.
Gentlemen, we're about to enter the fascinating sphere of police work, the world of forensic medicine. Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer.
Dr. Tobler, welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. You heard my story. I had the 3-day measles back in 1973. I got over it. I'm fine. What's the big deal?
Well, I mean, everyone who had the measles turned into a conservative, so maybe we shouldn't vaccinate anyone. Look, you were one of the vast majority of people that, have the measles or have German measles. That's rubella. We'll do just fine. But a significant number of kids will end up hospitalized, and they can have really some significant long-term problems. There's even a delayed, reaction you can get as well. So, I hope that some of these stories that are coming out are maybe reminding people that, maybe we should, rethink our thoughts about the good old-fashioned MMR vaccine.
Tim, quick follow-up. So the 3-day measles was rubella. And Dr. Tobler, I can remember, I think, getting vaccinated for that and a host of other childhood diseases. How in the hell did I get rubella or 3-day measles?
Well, these vaccines are not 100%, effective, right? So generally, if you are vaccinated and you end up getting the problem, one of two things happens. Either you actually, while it was incubating, while the vaccine was trying to build up your immunity. That's often what happens in influenza season. And people will, come down with the vaccine a week or so after they get the vaccine. Well, that's not the vaccine giving them measles, but the vaccine may help depending on how the interval from when you get the vaccine to when you get the measles. When you get the influenza, in that case, it may temper it a little bit. So you may not have had as severe a case if in fact you'd had the vaccine and then you got it, or it just didn't have time to work and you picked it up from someone else, because it was very common back in those times. Not everyone was getting vaccinated routinely as they had been then for the following decades, because after all, in the 1800s, the vaccines were not generally available. Just kidding, Chris.
and the crazy thing too, Tim and Dr. Tobler, was it was 3 days. I mean, I had the spots and everything. I was sick, and then after the third day, I really was okay and could go back to school. So that was kind of amazing. Go ahead, Tim.
But boy, I'll tell you, if women get that while they're pregnant, it can be devastating. I mean, it's really, really a big problem. It can cause everything from premature birth to, birth defects and mental retardation problems. So it's really a big, big deal.
Doc, I noticed, just to prove what a small world it truly is, I was looking at your Twitter feed to see what's been on your mind over the last few days. You reposted a tweet from a fellow that I actually know really well and work with under the State Freedom Caucus Network umbrella, a guy who writes for Town Hall, Dustin Grage. I thought it was funny. You retweeted him. Dustin's a good dude. And you retweeted that, I think, to show how far the Democratic Party has fallen. Weirdo Tim Walz is back. Like Doc, who are the Democrats at the national level who said, yeah, this guy needs to be back on a stage again? This guy is such a weird, how did this guy ever, Minnesotans must have frozen brains. And I say that as a guy I was actually born in Minnesota. Tim Walz received a standing ovation from an auditorium full of Democrats the other day, where wooden coins were, which is just, the whole thing's weird, where wooden coins calling for Trump's assassination were being passed around. Dustin said, this is today's Democratic Party. Doc, they're calling for the assassination of a sitting president. Only Democrats can get away with that, right? Without anybody batting an eyelid. They can call for the destruction and desecration of other people's property, Tesla automobiles. And this is a party that in and of itself is pretty much a dumpster fire. So I guess they're projecting what they've become. Have you ever seen the Democratic Party, Doc, at such a low point?
No, it's really hard to keep yourself from getting giddy over the way they're behaving, right? I mean, it's like a person that is in a demolition derby with their brand new, Tesla, and they just keep hitting the other cars and hitting the walls, and they just keep beating themselves up, and while we all laugh at that, we say, what in the world's the matter with that person? Well, certainly, the Democrat Party continues to double down on the things that clearly, objectively, by any rational standard, didn't do very well for them in the election and just passed a few months ago. So the fact that they want to continue to self-destruct like this, I'm okay with it. I guess what it does show you is that there is a very, very strong, rabid, and I'm glad about this, small minority of people who just won't let it go. They are just like badgers that won't let it go. And they're going to support guys like Tim Walz and Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Bernie Sanders. So, fine. Keep at it. I mean, that's great, because you know what? That's a healthy and fun distraction from the very heavy lifting that Donald Trump is doing with his administration against a lot of headwinds, right? From the media, from the judiciary. So, people are being asked to be patient as the tariffs do their thing, and, inflation gets tamed gradually. So as long as the Republicans don't self-destruct by failing to extend the tax cuts and on and on and on, it looks maybe brighter as a result of all of this together in the midterms than it would have otherwise.
Dr. Tobler, most of the big names have been confirmed in the administration. Two notable ones have not yet. One of them, of course, is Jody Stefanik for the ambassador to the UN. Because the majority is so tight, that's why she is still there. The other is Dr. Oz, and he is supposed to lead the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. Senator Hawley wants Dr. Oz to disavow his past positions on abortion and gender-affirming care for minors. Is this a disqualifying thing for Dr. Oz?
Well, I think that probably if that's disqualifying for Oz, then maybe Mike Huckabee is disqualified, by the same rationale. And I don't think he is disqualified because he has a little bit different of a position, even though Donald Trump supports Israel. He also, I think, is in favor of some kind of a two-state solution ultimately. So look, isn't it possible to have a view that isn't totally aligned and lockstep with the president, but you have a lot of other things that are aligned in terms of the drastic reforms that are needed at CMS? And so can't you pledge allegiance to Trump's agenda, regardless of what you've said in the past? That's the argument I would make if I was Dr. Oz and those who support him. I don't know where this is all going to end. I think there's probably a lot of other more controversial medical things that Dr. Oz has said. I mean, because he had to be a hyperbolic TV guy, right? And that's just what's required these days on television. You got to sort of push the limits. I would like to see him in there because I know that he is close enough to practicing doctors that he could certainly, I think, offer an awful lot of reform that would be it would just be so much to the benefit of the nation's patients. Because I'm sure he would address things like overregulation and the distractions that are going on, the underpayment. So more and more doctors aren't even seeing Medicare patients and Medicaid. And boy, you talk about the threats to Medicaid through decreased reimbursement. I think that you could actually probably clean up a lot without having to make dollar cuts, but increase the efficiency of that. And if you need to make dollar cuts, by reducing regulatory burdens, I think that a lot of people would maybe see a way to make that all work. So I hope Dr. Oz, I know he's been sort of under the radar, and I just wish they'd get around to confirming him. But I mean, we don't see much of Josh Hawley in this state, do we? So I don't know what to say. He seems to be like a floating senator.
Doesn't do a lot of radio too, does he? Does he do your shows?
I wasn't doing the show when his campaign was going on. He loved radio then, but he doesn't like it once he got elected. Let's just say that.
Indeed.
Speaker Jones.
Indeed. Doc, you mentioned, if Republicans cannot screw things up, right? We often talk about Democrats, especially these days, doubling down on being the party of the truly insane and the out of step, out of touch ideas that most Americans have rejected. But we often talk about the Republican Party as being the party that boofs the football, sometimes the stupid party. Doc, the Republican Party really has an opportunity here, right, to reach out to people of all shapes, sizes, colors, creeds, and codes. Get that reconciliation bill. That's the next big thing, right? Get that reconciliation bill across the finish line, because if they can do that, then we could see the Trump bump, the Trump boom, for the second time in 10 years. And that really catapulted us during that first Trump term into a period of not only prosperity, but peace around the globe for the most part as well, didn't it?
You know what? I was disappointed. You're right. I mean, all of what you said is just should not be a rose-colored glasses statement, right? When everything electorally was like, guys, you got the wind at your back, go for it, make the bold moves, do the reconciliation bill, do all the good things. But I'm reading that the Senate is in disarray in the Republican caucus in the Senate. That they just, I don't know if you're hearing different things. You guys may be more connected. I know you're more connected than I am, but I'm reading just today, I forget where the article was, that man, there's just so much disarray. You know, senators don't want these cuts in, was it Virginia or West Virginia? He doesn't want the cut to the Medicaid program. Another one has a problem with this and with that, you know, probably should be a part of a proper reconciliation bill. So it would be a crying shame to miss that opportunity. And it would absolutely, I think, tank a Trump 2.0, potentially the entire presidency. If those tax cuts aren't extended, I don't know. I mean, I think it's an existential threat to the whole agenda. Yes, immigration reform is good. Yes, you can do some things with the tariffs. I think they're going to turn out to be much less of a big deal than the naysayers would like to think. But boy, those tax cuts have to get through. And I'm hearing the Senate's thinking not until after July 4th, maybe even into, you know, after the summer break. God only knows.
Boy.
Man. And then we're going to have the budget problem all at the same time coalescing. Can you imagine the Armageddon that is politically?
Dr. Tobler, the article that you are cited was a political article this morning, and some of the senators that it says to watch out regarding their concern with Medicaid cuts is Jim Justice from West Virginia, his fellow Senator Shelley Moore Capito, Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski, the usual suspects, Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama, and Josh Hawley of Missouri.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they're just, look, if nothing else, can we in the talkosphere talk to our listeners and have our listeners talk to their young of coming of age or early in voting age people to remind them that all of the costs that have been borne on building up big government and redistributionist policies through these entitlements are only going to get worse if they continue to vote for Democrats and continue to vote for, you know, Republican light, which is really sort of Democrat heavy. Once these programs get installed, I just don't ever see how they're going to sunset. Okay, maybe the Department of Education, after how many years? What is that, like 40 years? Finally, something's being done about that. But that's not in the same manner as the big name entitlements like Obamacare and Medicaid and Medicare. I just hope that at least this argument is really weighing on people's minds as they go to the polls from here on out, to be very, very careful about giving government money and power with which to buy votes, because it'll be eternal. It'll go on forever.
Wise words. And if you want to hear more of that wisdom, you can tune in every Saturday morning from 6 to 9 as he hosts the Randy Tobler Show. And if you're in Mid-Missouri, he's the host of Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle in Columbia. Dr. Tobler, always enjoy talking with you, sir, and we'll speak with you again next Tuesday.
Highlight of my day. We'll see you next time.
You got to get a better life there, Dr. Tobler. See, he hung up on us real quick there. All right, 5:47. We're going to follow up a little bit on that political article that Dr. Tobler mentioned, some of the other concerns of senators that could gum up the works. We'll go over that when we come back on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, number one for live and local conservative talk.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
I liked beer. I still like beer.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Got a great day on tap for Wednesday. Low 42. Cool in the morning, but near normal. But an afternoon high of 66, above the normal high of 61, and mostly sunny without too much wind. Northwest winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Now, Thursday for the Cards opener, there's a 40% chance for showers, few thunderstorms. They're going to be scattered in nature. I don't see this as a washout type rain, but just a heads up if we go into the game or celebrations and festivities before and after the game, there is a chance to get a little bit wet. It is warmer, though, a high of 71 for Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
DOJ continues efforts to save the U.S. taxpayers' dollars, but judges, of course, are trying to block every effort.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
If you visit HansonsTree.com, that's HansonsTree.com, you can do everything and more to take care of your homestead and everything around, the flora and fauna around your homestead. Right at the top of the page, I'm looking at it right now, HansonsTree.com. You can book an appointment You can book a tree inspection. You can see all the services and the resources and the goods that they provide, everything from that awesome organic mulch, which you can order online as well. You can apply for a hassle-free estimate for any of the services or the products I mentioned. You can apply for 6 months, same as cash financing to approved customers. You can make payments and more. You can look at all their tree care services, the products they have, what's in their pro shop, the resources they offer, the awesome 5-star reviews they have, all their locations and more. Hanson's St. Louis provides expert insured tree care. Everything I just mentioned plus more. Green resource recycling, grinding and land clearing. They just do everything from top to bottom. Tree removal. Order that awesome organic mulch. Get hassle-free quotes and more. Don't you be getting up on ladders with one leg in the air and a chainsaw in the other. Get Chad Hansen and the expert arborist at Hanson's Tree Care out to fix up everything that happened to your homestead throughout the past rough storms. Get things ready for the beautiful spring days ahead. Save those most important assets, those big trees and beautiful shrubs you have, by getting a hold of Hanson's. They have an emergency service line, same as the daily line, 636-379-1830, or simply just go to the place that's got it all. Everything I just mentioned and more is found at HansonsTree.com, HansonsTree.com.
Have you been injured in an accident? You need a personal injury law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, we've been fighting and winning for St. Louis. $5 billion in negotiated settlements? We've got it. $300 million in verdicts? Done. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row. Onder wins all the time. Car accident, trucking accident, workplace injury. No matter the case, let Onder win for you. When the stakes are high, we're the team you can trust. Wondering what your case is worth? Call now for a free consultation. And remember, we don't get paid unless you win. Dial 314 or 618-9-million. That's 9 then all zeros. Or visit onderwins.com today. Onder Law. Winning is what we do.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Never paint again. This is Darren, owner of Rhino Shield. Want to eliminate painting your home, business, or church? Call the experts at Rhino Shield. Rhino Shield is a revolutionary ceramic wall coating to regular paint and vinyl. Perfect for aluminum, steel, unpainted brick, block, stucco, EIFS, drive-it, cement board, and wood sidings. Rhino Shield eliminates wasting time and money painting year after year. Our ceramic coating deflects 90% of the sun's UV rays and 100% of the moisture. Our clients want affordable protection with the elimination of maintenance. Rhino Shield protects your biggest investment while maintaining your architectural features and gives you the curb appeal you deserve. Make your home great again by working with the Rhino Shield experts. A+ rated with the BBB. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
It was supposed to be one of the most anticipated shows of the year. Instead, last night's Glorilla concert led to fights breaking out.
Yeah, it all happened at the factory in Chesterfield. Take a look at this video sent to us from a concert goer who spoke with us this morning. You can see that police moved in to break up the fight. We're told the rapper stopped the concert several times throughout the night because of the fighting. Glorilla even ended the concert early, walking off the stage as the crowd continued to spiral out of control.
5:54 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Tim, how many Glorilla albums do you have in your collection?
Let me check. None.
Glorilla.
What kind of music are they?
Well,
what kind of music are they?
I would presume it's hip hop, rap.
Okay.
That trap music, that
Trap
dirty
music. I don't know,
South
dirty
stuff from
South.
Memphis.
There's a alt rock band called Gorillaz that I like, but I have not heard of. Is it
Glorilla?
Glorilla?
Yeah, she's real sexy, they say.
Oh,
she's a rapper. Yeah, but apparently she had a concert. There was a bunch of fighting and going on that she had to end the concert early. And, I'm seeing so much of this. I've gotten addicted to reels. I'll admit it. And there's this trend now where you see these people, and I don't even know how they even do this, but they get up stage, especially with the rappers. They'll somehow get up on stage. They'll run towards the person and then want to start dancing with them or hugging them or something. The rapper ends up punching them out in the face or something. And then when they do that, they jump into the crowd before security can get them, which I'm like, yeah, the crowd's probably going to beat the hell out of you. You probably want to be in security, but it's just insane at these urban hip hop concerts, just the fighting and going on, the mayhem. And what bothers me, Tim, if I say that around another black person, they'll say, well, why are you picking on black people for these for these incidents? White people over in Europe during soccer matches, they're rioting and all that stuff. That is always the example that they always bring up, which, okay, that's an example, but it seems to be happening much more often. And this is our community. This is my community. And instead of trying to make comparison of other cultures, why don't we look inwardly ourselves and say, this is wrong?
Yeah, I don't think any of us, Chris, are saying, oh, yeah, we love when the crazy Euro nut jobs riot and cause death and destruction at soccer. It's not like we approve of that either, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like we condemn all of it. It's two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, I don't get it. Going back to our last segment there with Dr. Tobler, he was talking about a political article, and I mentioned how Medicaid is going to be a problem for a certain number of senators, including Josh Hawley. Also, Tim, Senator Paul Rand, he said Monday he would vote against the bill if it includes a debt limit hike. So he is probably a no. And Senator Johnson said the $1.5 trillion in cuts in the House bill is totally inadequate. And Senator Mike Lee of Utah has said the same thing. And then you have your defense hawks, Armed Services Committee Chair Roger Wicker. He believes $150 billion should be the floor, not the ceiling for new defense spending. So you've got a number of senators there that are not happy totally with the House reconciliation bill. They've got a 3-person cushion, but there's more than 3 here.
Yeah, what a surprise. A Senate body is off the rails. Doesn't that sound familiar?
Yeah, shocker. All right, Larry Connors, USA is up next. Larry's going to ask, did Trump team mishandle critical info? Also, FBI issues public warning for Tesla owners and author Tom Lewis on kids losing American values. And don't say Jamin Allman anymore, because, of course, he is on now from 12 to 2. You have been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
I'm just a toy.
When caring for a loved one becomes overwhelming, you don't have to walk that path alone. At Truly Treasured Home Care, we understand because we've been there. Our owner's personal experience caring for a parent inspired our mission to provide the compassionate support families need. From personalized care and companionship to specialized dementia and veteran services, we tailor our approach to your unique situation. Truly Treasured Home Care. Call